What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Latin Explaining. My name is Denise. For those who do not know me, for those who do, welcome once again to another episode of Latin Explaining. I hope you guys have had an amazing weekend. I know I did. So, guys, I want to say hi to everybody that already started this chat. I see that Jose, Sundown, Rakim, Johnny Mills is here. Welcome, guys. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for allowing me into your homes and your devices. Now, before we start the show today, oh boy, we have a lot to talk about. A lot. But before we start the show today, I want to remind everybody to hit that like button. And also, if you haven't done so, subscribe to my channel so that you don't miss any show that I do. And before I even go into the intro, remember, like Jose reminds you guys so kindly here, to hit that bell for notifications, because sometimes, I go live and people come in, oh, like I'm late. Just hit that bell for notifications and press all so that every time that I go live, you guys can hear about it and you don't miss a single second. Now, guys, like I said, today's show, is going to be packed with a lot of things. Trust me, you don't want to miss this one. This one is going to be very interesting. It's going to be super fun. I mean, come on, there's a long... You don't want to miss the main topic today. You don't want to miss anything today. Like I said, I know a lot of people... are gonna continue with their nonsense, but we gotta keep talking about it. We're on season 2, and our main focus in this season is going to be the Slowtep community, and for that matter, all the Teps. Because we're going to focus mainly on why they resist what we're trying to say, why they resist the message to get from their couch and start doing something. So before any further ado, like I said, guys, let's get this show started.
Take it to the next level.
Guys, among many things that we have to discuss today, we're going to discuss one piece of news that was very interesting to me. It was released today, and that is that Governor Ron DeSantis, the governor of Florida, is offering a $5,000 bonuses for police officers who move to Florida to avoid the jab mandates. Yes, you heard it right. He said that he'll hopefully sign the legislation at a special session on the state legislature. Now, guys, I know you heard a lot about how we constantly have to hear from one side or the other about this jab mandates and whatnot. And we have heard and seen, especially here in California, in the state I am at, where we have a lot of police departments actually suing, or even not only suing, refusing point blank to get the job as a requirement for them to maintain their jobs. Now, One thing I would say is that, I'm not saying that I'm anti-jab. You guys know I got my first doses a week and a half ago, and boy, it was not pretty. But at the same time, we have to continue to watch the development of this circus that's going on between the people that are pro-jab and anti-jab and whatnot, and the people in the middle that just actually want to keep their jobs without having to reveal medical records to random strangers. And now, one thing I would say, like I said, I got the job because it was my personal decision based on things that I wanted to do. Unfortunately, you can't avoid it here in the state of California. The same thing is going in New York. Um, and I think, in all honesty, I think this is a positive move on Governor DeSantis, because it's time for some people to start resisting the stupidity, and mostly the fact that, now you have people. There's a huge wave of people that don't want to even get off their couch, including the Slowteps, but a lot of people that are not necessarily going out their couch to go get these jobs. I don't know if you guys have noticed that lately a lot of places are hiring and offering even signing bonuses so that people can go. I know that even in Puerto Rico, Burger King was offering you a cell phone, a $300 bonus. Um, due to like due at signing your contract with Burger King, plus they were offering you $11 an hour. Obviously, the cost of living in Puerto Rico is a little bit cheaper, but we've seen how McDonald's is offering $21, how other places are offering $19 and whatnot. They're desperate for workers right now. And I don't think it's intelligent to, on top of that, add another layer of conditions for work when people actually need to recover from all the debt that definitely we had accumulated due to the C-19 lockdowns. Now I see that on Common Sense with Jose Negron says members of the NYPD is suing the city for the mandates. Yeah, definitely in here too. And even we had sheriff department the sheriff department, Villanueva, the commander of the sheriff department. It escaped my mind his title, but he basically said that he's not going to lose his force due to a mandate. Mandates are not law. So I highly doubt that these things are going to fly. I think this is going to either set a precedent, depending on what happens and what the courts determine, or it's going to just be the first of many refusals that legally, cannot be upheld in a court of law. Because honestly, nobody's breaking the law. So to be honest with you, this is a lot of bullshit, in my opinion. um, and I commend Governor DeSantis for doing that, because people are supposed to have the freedom to actually do whatever they think is the right thing with their bodies. And I get it. We put fried food, we put alcohol, marijuana, cigarettes, freaking, some people put all kinds of stuff in their bodies. But if they still don't want to have the jab, that is their choice. So, moving from this whole situation with Governor DeSantis, we go to what has been spoken about a lot, which is the Alec Baldwin incident on the, I'm sorry, film set of the movie, the low budget movie Rust. I want to expand a little bit here, because a lot has been said, how a lot has transpired due to this. And if you guys don't know, Alec Baldwin was in set for the movie, the Western movie that he was filming, Rust, when he grabbed a gun that was used for props. And unfortunately, when he was shooting, it was real rounds, and he ended up killing the DP, the director of photography for that film. Now, a lot of people started just calling him stupid. I know that Donald Trump Jr. actually put in sales today a T-shirt that said, "Guns don't kill people. Alec Baldwin kills people." There's a lot of things that have gone back and forth. In my opinion, uh, Alec Baldwin has been an advocate for anti-gun laws for a long time. He has expressed his stance, and this is the stuff that happens. Because you're supposed to treat, like, I even received messages telling me this thing. You're supposed to treat every weapon like it's loaded. You're supposed to know how a weapon that is loaded, even how heavy it is compared to a one that's just with blanks. You're supposed to know gun safety even if you don't own a gun. This is the importance of these things, and a lot of people love to demonize gun owners based on what they don't know, because they have never uh, held a gun or even possessed a gun, but they have all this energy for the people that do. And this is one of the unfortunate results. Now, one thing that I would say is that during that film, because it was so low budget, I don't know if you guys have followed me on Instagram, but I have discussed how the IATSE union is on strike. Because if you have never worked on a movie set, you cannot relate. Okay, like we're talking about 12, 16, and sometimes 18 hours of full work for minimum wage sometimes, and sometimes you don't get paid until the job gets done. There's a lot of things that happen. You don't get meal breaks. There's a lot of things that actually happen. So Hollywood workers cannot keep up with the demand that people has to consume media nowadays, especially with the C-19 lockdowns and stuff. So they got fed up and started demanding better treatment. And in the middle of all of this, we have a member. We got, I think, a message where a lot of the crew walked out of the movie set. I believe earlier that same day before the incident, because they believe there was a lot of unsafe conditions, and also there was other issues going on with the production. um and literally, one of the messages that was sent from one of the crew members, that said that it was not an isolated incident. It says the entire camera crew walked off that morning for that exact reason. Last night, we each wrote resignation letters. We cited everything from lack of payment for 3 weeks, taking our hotels away despite asking for them in our deals, lack of C-19 safety, and on top of that, poor gun safety, poor onset safety, period. We wrote about this exact issue last night and walked this morning because of it. That's not in any of the papers. They brought in four non union guys to replace us and tried calling the cops on us. Only people that stayed were Halina, the DP, and Reed, the Be Steady Up. She had a kid, man. I can't believe it. So basically, the DP stayed by, obviously, you have an independent, like an indie director of photography. And if you don't know what a DP is, basically the quality of the picture of the film, plus, if you're going to shoot on 4K, or if you're going to shoot on film, and you're going to go on 16 millimeters, 35 millimeters, and whatnot, all the terminologies in film, that's what the DP is in charge of. And it's not like an easy job, especially for a woman, because you have to do a lot of filming yourself sometimes, depending on if you're coming up, especially you have to do your own camera. There's a lot of things that, and sacrifices that you have to do. So she saw this as an opportunity. Hey, I'm filming Alec Baldwin. She has done small projects before, but never to this caliber, with this caliber of actor, and it ended up costing her life. So it is a very unfortunate incident. My condolences to the family. This was something that, like I said, if you have at any point in your life participated in a movie set, or if you're involved in media and whatnot, you know how sad this is, and how poorly things were handled in that set for it to happen. So, oh my God, like I can't express how pissed off and disappointed I am at the same time. Now, speaking of disappointment, you guys know that we have talked a lot about Luma Energy and their, let's just say, lack of professional background, lack of grip when it comes to rendering services for power in Puerto Rico, especially since, coming after the AEE, and how mediocre the AEE was, and now Luma is even worse. And a lot of people are disappointed because they seem to see that there's up to a 33% increase in their light bill every month. And they don't understand how this is happening when most of the island is having power outages at least 2 times per day. Well, the people of Puerto Rico started demanding that Luma Energy disclose how they managed the money, because a lot of people were questioning their stupid excuses from, oh, it's the trees. There's a lot of vegetation in the island. There's a lot of algae. There's a lot of rain. There's a lot of this and that. And I'm like, well, that's what you get when you basically establish a company 30 days before your stupid and incompetent government gives them a contract of $100 million, just to establish the company. Now, when people started demanding that Luma Energy disclose how they, in an itemized ledger, when people started demanding that they disclose how they managed the money that they were overcharging the people of Puerto Rico, this is what they responded. They basically said that they have admitted, Luma executives have just now admitted that they make more money than the president of the United States, Joe Biden, and also that they overcharge Puerto Ricans to be able to pay themselves these salaries and are way more expensive than the AEE salaries. These expressions from Luma come after weeks of public demands of the books to be open for review regarding the financial structure of the company. Now, if you think this is a joke, to be honest with you, some of the people that charge some of the executives, and these are all gringos, some of the executives of Luma Energy, the ones that are in the lower range, get paid 250K per year. The mid range of the executives get paid $500,000 a year, and some of the high executives in Luma Energy are charging $1 million a year. That is way more than President Joe Biden is making. And all of this is coming out of the pockets of people that literally have pennies to scrap from, because you guys know that we're overtaxed, underpaid, and in distress right now with a broken island that is basically rebuilding itself after a typhoon that happened in 2017. So a lot of people are, to be honest with you, disappointed with how this new government has um, deployed certain funds and whatnot, how they have handled certain things, and they are not having it. And because they're not having it, on top of all the things that are happening, the University of Puerto Rico, in all of its precincts, we have the room in Mayagüez, the one in Ponce, in Aguadilla, in Bayamón, Carolina, Rio Piedras. They're all protesting because the oversight board is at attack again. They're coming for these people to close down more benefits for kids going to school, to close down certain sectors of the University of Puerto Rico, to make more incompetent professionals. And on top of that, they're overcharging the schools, I'm sorry, the students that are going to these colleges to get a better education. Let's not forget that the University of Puerto Rico actually provides a proper college education for professionals that come from very conservative, or let's just call it what it is, impoverished and humble households. So that was the way for people to have an avenue to better themselves or further their education so that they could make decent wages. So now, because the students have become a target once again, because this is not the first time that this has happened, they started their own protest. And as if that wasn't enough, the oversight board was yielding once again the austerity machete on people in Puerto Rico. And this time it came for the police. The Puerto Rican police right now is facing a pension. Their pensions are threatened right now to be, some of them taken away, a portion of it. And on top of that, their salaries are going to remain low. On top of that, they're playing with their overtime. A lot of the patrol cars are literally in lack of maintenance, breaking down in the middle of patrols. A lot of stuff is happening. Safety vests for state police, like the Puerto Rican state police, is just in extreme decay, to the point that some policemen don't even have proper vests, to the point that if they get shot in the middle of their work, they can die in places where they're not supposed to even die, because a vest is supposed to cover them all the way through. But that's not the case. And because that happened, now we have what is called a national strike. A lot of these protests have come together in the middle of what's supposed to be the recovery of the island. And now, via what Eliezer Molina posted and a lot of other people, the Puerto Rico Police Department has declared an official strike in protest of the austerity measures imposed on them by the oversight board that seeks to take part of the retirement pensions and other benefits away to have those funds reassigned to pay the national debt. The department has declared that effective this Friday, October the 29th, till Monday, they will cease all labors until Monday morning in the whole island. Um, Now, one thing I will say, I am not surprised. I am not surprised that this happened, but I am excited. And I know a lot of people will say, oh, like you're instigating violence. No, I'm not instigating violence. One thing I will say is that I don't know if you guys watched the Ricky Rosselló resign protest. One of the major roadblocks that a lot of people had was facing the police department, because the police department, instead of coming together with the people, they were shooting at the people gas and pepper spray and a lot of things and rubber bullets, simply because they were protecting the interests of the government that was messing with them as well. So now they thought that by defending the government, they were going to be taken care of. And now they're feeling the burnt of the same government that they thought that was going to defend them. And now they're seeing that it's playing with their money. Doesn't that sound familiar? It's playing with their money. So now they decided to join the other side. Now they are on the other side. Now they're going to protest with the people. This protest has started today. The police is already taking some time off, but this Friday, the 29th, the police is going to stop working for 72 hours. It's going to start it's going to start this Friday till 4 a.m. on Monday. So have fun, Pedro Pierluisi. I don't know how he's going to manage this, in all honesty. If you think that Pedro Pierluisi has Puerto Rico on a grip, put a number one in the chat. If you think he's losing the grip and you think we're going to see history repeat itself with another governor being pressured to resign, put a number two in the chat. Because to be honest with you, I never seen police officers in Puerto Rico, which are one of the most loyal to the government in the whole United States. Those are the most loyal to the government type of police. They don't kill people like here, but in reality, they have always protected the rich. So this is the first time that they're actually realizing and thinking, hey, I'm risking my life. I don't have proper gear. I don't have proper equipment. I don't have proper vehicles. I'm being killed left and right and nothing happens. Now you're going to play with my pension that's going to go to my family in case I die. You're going to play with my overtime. You're going to play with all of the things that make this job slightly attractive. Oh, hell no. They're not having it. They are not having it, people. They're not having it. And like I said, I'm all here for it, because I remember when Pedro Pierluisi said that he was not going to be another Ricky Rosselló. If you wanted to mess with me, I am a Jíbaro, and nobody can take me away from this position that people put me in. Well, good luck now. Let's see how much pressure he can withstand. Now, moving into something more positive to close this segment, I want to share with you guys something that was extremely nice. It was something very exciting that happened during this week. There's a high school in Louisiana that in the past 3 weeks had 23 arrests. I think 3 people were injured and a lot of fights were breaking out. Well, that's on duty showed up. We have several and dozens of fathers took actions, matters into their own hands, and decided to show up at high school. And they called their own club that's on duty because they were concerned that their children and other children may be at risk, and they wanted to show these kids how to handle and solve problems without any violence involved. It's fair enough to say that since this dads on duty showed up to teach their kids how to manage and maneuver in conflict, not a single incident has happened. Bravo to those fathers. Literally, that's something that we don't see every day, but I hope we normalize this thing because this is what we need. A lot of media loves to portray, especially Black fathers, in a bad light, and this is the first one of the first times that I'm seeing in mainstream media. This was put on all over CBS News, that we're actually reporting in a more fair way when it comes to Black fathers, and I commend them for doing this. To be honest with you, and this it goes to show that male presence and masculinity is needed in society to bring balance and stability. So kudos to them. I am very proud of That's on Duty. I hope this gets normalized in all of the public school system so that we see less violence, more learning, more stable males and females, and hopefully it becomes a full-time job. Who knows? You never know, right? So, guys, that has been all for news today. Let's keep this show moving because trust me, I have more stuff coming and is going to go to Latin explaining sports. Boy, boy, boy. Didn't I told you guys last week on the last show about Paulo Costa? Didn't I tell you guys that I believe Paulo Costa is unprofessional? Didn't I tell you guys about all these things? Well, guys, let me tell you something. Paulo Costa showed up this Saturday to his fight against Marvin Vittori. Super huge, still under 205. I'll commend him for that. He cut some weight. And obviously, Marvin Vittori, being the bigger man, he turned out to be the bigger man. Decided to come up from 185 all the way to 204. And Paulo Costa did not even meet him halfway. He was 204.5, almost 205, like he said he was going to be, but he was still the bigger man in there. And to be honest with you, we could see how Marvin Vittori, even though this was in very short notice, he still managed to dominate Paulo Costa. Not like Paulo Costa did not throw some dangerous kicks, but on round two, if you did not watch the fight on round two, oh my God. There was a lot of things that happened that ended up costing Paulo Costa 1 point. And on top of that, when he was being taken that point away, he was like, no, 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 no. And the referee was like, what the hell? Yes, I'm taking a point. And he tried to stay in that fight. But let me tell you something. That dude, in my opinion, did not train whatsoever. He did not train whatsoever because on round one, we saw him mouth open, tongue sticking out, all tired and stuff. And Marvin Vittori, even though he was carrying all that weight at the very last minute, because he did not train for that, to be in that weight, he still came up and dominated Paulo Costa in his bout for the middleweight in this Saturday in this UFC event. Now, I would say, like I said, I think Paulo Costa should be removed from the UFC or at least penalized in some way because this is an embarrassment to the sportsmanship. This is an embarrassment to other athletes that actually put in the work, and he's not even training at this point. He was just putting in weight for no reason and trying to do something out of, I don't know. I don't know who's training Paulo Costa, but whoever is training needs to get fired too. Because to be honest with you, this was not cool whatsoever. And I'm glad that Marvin Vittori won because if he would have lost, oh my God, that would have been the end. That would have been the end because then Paulo Costa would have said, hey, you know what? I still got it. So definitely, guys, like I said, Marvin Vittori came out to be the bigger man in there. He still managed, like I said, to put in more weight simply because the person he was fighting against was irresponsible, negligent, and straight out lazy. And it showed throughout the fight. So congratulations to Marvin Vettori on his victory against Paulo Costa. That was an amazing performance, and I hope that they do something about Costa. Now, speaking of fights, this Saturday was packed with a lot of fights that were very interesting, and we're going to talk about some of them. And one of them is about a legend in the making, in my opinion. Nico Ali Walsh. We know that he's Muhammad Ali's grandson. Actually, he went into fight, and it's not easy to live up to a legend such as his grandfather, and he actually managed to win. So if you guys missed this fight, I actually missed it for other reasons, but in all honesty, I have watched some highlights, and I'm very proud that his legacy is living true. um, we'll see what happens in the future with Nico. I hope that he keeps killing it just one moment at a time, because we don't want to taint that legacy. And trust me, a lot of people come for this legacy fighters. We saw it. This whole boxing event was about mostly legacy, among other things. We've seen it with other fighters as well. We saw it even with Julio Cesar Chavez and Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. A lot of people came for Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. simply because of his father legacy. And in reality, he could not live up to it because it was a lot of pressure. But now we have all these fighters that are fighting out of, boxing legacy houses and actually bringing in the heat. And speaking of heat, somebody did not actually could withstand the heat in this boxing event that we had on Saturday, and that person was Dan Carpensi. We saw him on his bout with Sander Sayas from Puerto Rico, and it was a stoppage, but in reality, it was because he could not take the beating. If you think about it, you know, Sander Sayas' power is so intense that he could not manage to get his punches together. He tried to do some damage, but it was unsuccessful, to the point that at some point he went into his corner to never come back out again. And that's another victory for the young Puerto Rican. Let's just remember that he's 19 years old. I hope that they don't throw him like they did Canelo, that they did 30. I hope that they don't throw Sander Sayas into the Lions Den too early. He's still too young. Let's just wait for him to mature and marinate into this culture before we throw him into names that are bigger. Speaking of bigger names and marinating and young and old and all this stuff during boxing, another thing that we saw this Saturday was the infamous fight between Shakur Stevenson and Jamel Herring. Guys, in case you don't know what's happening here, well, the WBO, I'm sorry, was having this fight. And let's not forget that Herring is a veteran at what he does. Yes, he came from losing several fights, but this was the fourth time that he was going to defend his title against Shakur Stevenson. And one thing I would say is that I absolutely love fights that come with some beef outside of the ring. I don't know if you guys remember old school fights used to be like that, and that was the exciting part about those fights in the past, is that they had some, there was some kind of tension leading to the bout, and you were all excited, picking sides, talking about it at the barber shop. Some of us were talking about it at the salon. It was all about that. And this fight just brought all of that back to us in a very explosive way. And Shakur Stevenson said to Jamel Herring in the past, and they used to be friends and even work together and train together. And he told him he will beat his ass. Well, he said, I'll whoop your ass. And boy, he did. He dominated Jamel Herring until round 10 when he could no longer withstand the power of Shakur Stevenson and succumb basically to his injury, especially on his left eye, because I think since round 3 we could see that there was like massive swelling on that eye. And I mean, I commend Herring for putting up a good fight too against Stevenson. And to be honest with you, I'm a new just like he's a new champion. I am a new fan, like a old time fan now of Shakur Stevenson. I love his style. This kid has a lot of future, and I hope that right now Bob Arum is takes Oscar Valdez from the witness protection program and puts him in front of a real fighter. Let's see what happens, because we all saw what happened with Constant Shaw, and we all saw different fights to the result we got with Oscar Valdez. And I think that would be an amazing fight. I hope to see this fight happening soon. Like I said, if Bob Arum takes Oscar Valdez away from the witness protection program, then we might see an amazing fight in our history, just like we saw Jamel Herring and Stevenson this Saturday, guys. Now, before I go into the main topic, I want to remind you guys about something that has been very exciting, and I want to share with you guys something that, give me 1 second, guys. Something that's very exciting. Look at Melanator Knight says Stevenson's versus Valdez. Let's go. Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. He says, but much respect to Jamel Herring, though. Yeah, for sure, for sure. It's not easy to actually come out being the older dude and having a young person that you train, to be that strong, beat your ass like that, which, grants him a lot of respect. And we also, Shakur Stevenson, actually give him a lot of respect at the end of the fight. And like I said, I hope to see a Stevenson versus Valdez in any time soon. And speaking of victories and honor and respect, we had to give respect to somebody from my beautiful island, Puerto Rico, the MVP.
The MVP, Guayá, Puerto Rico. The MVP,
Yeah, that's right, guys. That's exactly how you hear it. We have an MVP, guys. And let me tell you something. During this whole thing, I know I am a Cardinals fan, but Eddie Rosario from the Atlanta Braves led the team to his victory over the Los Angeles Dodgers in a series that went 4-2 in favor of the Atlanta Braves, and he won because of that the MVP title. So of course, we're going to see more. He said that he's not going to offer any interviews until this shit ends, because this is just the semifinals. But I'm very proud, like I said, not to brag, because I know mostly Dominicans are literally royalty when it comes to baseball. And in so many instances, it has been proven that they are the best of the best. But I would say that Puerto Ricans are not that far behind, okay? We got our MVP. Shout out to Eddie Rosario from Guayama, Puerto Rico for winning the MVP for the Atlanta Braves. That was an amazing performance. I know a lot of Angelinos are disappointed. We've all seen them, in their little Dodgers meltdown. They're not going to have the hot dogs anymore. No more freaking traffic. The stadium area is going to stay cleared. They're now fishing. Oh my God. But it was an amazing series to watch, guys. And like I said, more power to Eddie Rosario for bringing that home and bringing, the MVP and making all of us Puerto Ricans proud around the world. Well, guys, that has been all for sports today. Let's just keep moving to the main topic. Well, guys, here we go. I see that Ramon is here, my fellow Boricua. You see, we say puñeta and todos los Boricuas aparecen. Oh my God! Look at Melanated Night. Sanders Sayas by Eddie Rosario Huepa. And Jose, because I'm telling y'all, these Yankees fans are on another dimension. Steer away from them because they will rep those Yankees until they die, okay? You cannot mess with them Yankees, okay? And their fans are obnoxious. I see that Ramon says that he le va a los Braves. Well, my favorite is the Cardinals, but I would say that yes, in this instance, MVP puñeta. We're all from the Braves now. Oh my God. That word cannot go missing whenever a Puerto Rican wins something major. Look, Jose's defending the Yankee fans. No, we're cool. I'm not gonna pull the Latin explaining archives when you and Radical started repping the Yankees, but y'all know how you how you all are, you know. Now, guys, moving into the main topic. I know we love to laugh and everything, and today's topic is going to be full of laughs, okay? It's going to be full of laughs because a lot of people, um, a lot of people um, know, and I have expressed before that this season is going to focus mainly on the TEPS community, either slow taps, dive step, correct taps, and all the taps available in the mic or the mics community, the mental and intellectually challenged individuals that we have on this side of YouTube. And today we're going to talk about a topic that is very important to touch on, which is the Slowteps retirement plan. And I know a lot of people, I know a lot of people love that thumbnail. Thank you guys for sending me that message. I loved it too. It's hilarious as hell. But to be honest with you, in all seriousness, we got to talk about this. We know that we have expressed before how the slow tips create a debt for us all simply because once the Gen X and the baby boomers that are still in the workforce retired, we're going to be left with a wave of incompetent, lazy, and coward individuals in our community. I'm not saying all, I'm not saying all, and I'm not saying all. I said the TEPs, okay? Not all, just the TEPs. um, we're going to be left with this wave of individuals that actually don't contribute what they're supposed to contribute to society. And in all honesty, all the hard work that the previous generations, the Gen X and the baby boomers have done for the Latino community to put us where we are today is going to backtrack due to the slow taps being too comfortable, like you see this young slow tap in the picture. Now, one thing I will say is that um, since we already understood what the debt that the slow taps create, we have to talk about the future. We have to start talking about what's going to happen once we're the ones left alongside Gen Z and a few young alpha generation alpha workers come into the force. One thing I would say is that, look, our community prides itself in coming into this country mainly from impoverished or humble beginnings, and coming basically with their shirts on their backs and coming in this country, taking whatever job and start building from them and actually be able to feed their families and give us a better life. That is basically the Latino American dream. And to be honest with you, we have faced so many things have been, We have been thrown at with so many things that we have survived as a collective, regardless of the circumstances. We're still here and we're growing in numbers. I get it, this doesn't necessarily represent that we're succeeding, because our numbers remain low, very low, and we're seeing more and more the slow tech community growing exponentially, to the point that now they rather criticize people like me, and call us all kinds of names, and even mention people like myself when we're not even mentioning them. And I'm like,
Why are you so obsessed with me?
to the point that I don't understand, you know?
I was like, why are you so obsessed with me?
It's to the point that if you were to focus yourself into working as much as you're obsessed with individuals with me, or setting up a plan for your retirement, then you wouldn't be here. And I'm not trying to shame nobody, I'm not trying to, like I said, humiliate nobody, but all I'm saying is that you know we have to start thinking about the future with intent. We need to start thinking about the future, thinking like, what's going to happen if I keep going at this pace in 30 years? And I have spoken about and I'm always like, I remember that song. Oh yeah, me too. Me too. Look.
Why are you so obsessed with
I'm gonna make that a sound from now on, okay? If you like this sound effect, put a number one in the chat.
me? Why are you so obsessed with
Like, oh my god. Now, one thing I will say is that a lot of the things that I'm seeing, unfortunately, this is this is the reason why we go and I go at the slow taps the way I go at the slow taps, is because you hear a lot of mumbo jumbo, but you see no action. I've tried the approach of asking them to participate in the Latino community and our needs, and little to none have contributed anything. I have communicated with them, trying to communicate to them effectively, to what I get. But you're married to a black man. And that is the stupidity that we're seeing, and the stupidity that will be inherited to our kids. I have heard even slow taps and some Hispano taps saying that they need to focus in productive years in their prime. They're saying that they have to focus on breeding and having children and making families. But I'm like, how are you gonna make, and it's something that I've noticed, and one of the biggest shocks that I have when I came to California, I'm seeing people that have two, three, four, five kids in our community, living literally two families in one room. And I can understand that if you just came from the border. That is the only way that that is acceptable. If you came from the border, if you're a dreamer or have a green card, that is acceptable. If your birth certificate says America, that is completely unacceptable. If you don't have a home, you should not have kids. I've said this in season one. Are we having kids too soon? And the fact of the matter is that we're seeing a lot of people working against nature. We're seeing slow taps challenging nature and the way things naturally and organically are supposed to go. You don't see birds out there with their egg flying around with the egg trying to find where to put the egg. You see that birds that have no reasoning whatsoever, their brains are way smaller than us. Birds can actually go out there, face the world, carried all those branches, build a nest, and then they put the eggs in there. Because birds know that those kids that they're going to have are going to have needs, are going to need shelter, are going to need food. So how responsible are these Slowteps when you compare them to pigeons that actually understand this? Pigeons understand that they need a nest before they put eggs, but Slowteps cannot understand that they need to build a home before they bring in a family. And I'm not saying you have to buy a $600,000 home. I'm just saying you have to establish yourself. If you're living in an apartment because that's what your means allow you, then you live in a fucking apartment. But it's your apartment for your family. You need to have your own roof. The time for fiestas, the time for quinceañeras, for corridos, for stupidity, for revising history, for reviving the Spanish Empire has ended. The world is moving so fast right now to the point that in 34 years, the median income for Latino households will be zero because we have no automation experience, preparation, or any competency when it comes to the market. And when you're a worker, you have to stay ahead of the market so that you are competent and your skills match the market. I'm seeing a lot of Slowteps that when you talk to them about these things, when I present the idea of business as a solution, of transitioning into owning something, into creating some money, some wealth, nobody's telling you that you need to be a millionaire because in reality, a lot of people are not going to become millionaires in their lifetime. A lot of people are not going to become millionaires in their lifetime. A lot of people are going to be stable. And when you try to talk to these Slowteps about how they're supposed to become stable, they come at you, insult you, make streams about you. But let me tell you something, like your kids are still going to starve.
I was like, why are you so obsessed with me?
Like, why is there an obsession with people, but there's no obsession with the future of your family? And I'm speaking to Slowteps that are head of households, either men or single mothers. And yes, you can come at me and say, oh, she's a woman, don't listen to her. Yes, I know I'm not supposed to be talking to grown men about what they're supposed to do, but the fact that I am here validates the point. You're not supposed to be doing 8, 10, 15, 9, 6, 4-hour streams out here. I cannot picture any single one of y'all with an actual job. If you're not working, if you're not, and this is the thing that I'm gonna say, and I know it's gonna hurt some people. I know it's gonna hurt some people, but I'm still gonna have to say it. If you're not working 60 to 80 hours at a minimum wage job because you didn't went to college, you're underemployed in today's economy. How do I know this? Simple. Inflation was not 3.5% like they try to tell us. Inflation was 7%. And if you go, especially in states like California, New York, and so, you look at the price of even renting something, you're supposed to make at least 3 times the amount of your rent. And in California, we pulled the numbers on Jose's last stream. In California, The rent, the basic rent, is $2,500. So you're supposed to be making close to $6,000 to $7,000 a month in order for you to provide a life in your for your kids that can send them to college, pay for utilities, and pay in case you or any of your family members has an emergency. And I'm seeing a lot of slow taps having the audacity to call mama and papa to solve their problems. Oh, I live with my mom. I live with my dad. You're a loser. If you live with mom and dad, you are a loser. I don't care if you get offended. I don't care if you come from me. I know there's going to be 25 more streams. Keep them coming. They're hilarious. But if you live with mom and dad, you're a loser. It doesn't change the fact that you are. You're supposed to come out here, and if you got to be homeless until you get it, you'll be homeless. And I've had even slow taps tell me, oh, this woman is crazy. How am I supposed to work 60 to 80 hours a week? Let me tell you something. The value in a woman is her beauty and her ability to have kids. The value in a man is his ability to protect and provide. And if nobody told you that, then I'm telling you now. If you're unable to provide for what is needed, I'm not the one making the rules. If you didn't put yourself through any science, technology, engineering, or mathematics college degree, you're going to have to work 60 to 80 hours a week. I didn't make those rules. The market did. The market did. There's an inflation out there coming, a second wave inflation that's coming, and you're supposed to be making at least $24 an hour. You cannot make that in any minimum wage job. I see that MK says the only time that's acceptable is if you lost everything and are trying to get on your feet, but you have to actively get on your feet, not just say it. Exactly. The only time that I can accept that you go back to your parents' house is to just rehash that energy, learn from your mistakes, and put yourself back out there in 3 to 6 months. Parents are not an emergency fund. Slow taps. To every slow tap, I'm going to repeat it again. Your parents are not an emergency fund. Your parents are not an emergency fund. And that is something that you need to, you can hate me, that's fine, shoot the messenger, but it's not going to change the veracity or the truth in the message. If you live with your parents, if your parents have to help you and you're a grown ass adult over the age of 18, you are a loser. If you're not contributing to nothing, you are a loser. And that brings me to the Slowteps retirement plan. Let's say that you keep scanning items at Target and thinking, or I don't know, you know what, I'm gonna work over there and be a painter, I'm gonna sit down at the Home Depot and, you know, work there like 3 days a week because I live with my parents and I only had to bring home $200 a month. They let me stay here. Let's say you marry under these conditions, or if you're fully employed. Let's say let's give this low tap some credit. I'm gonna give y'all some credit. You're on Latin explaining credit. You're on Latin explaining credit card. Not platinum, basic credit card. Don't get it twisted. It's a secure credit card. Let's say you're like, I'm gonna have family, I'm fully employed and whatnot. You want to remain underemployed because you guys like to be comfortable, like this guy out here in the sofa. You want to stay comfortable there. You think that I'm talking mumbo jumbo because I'm telling you to get off of your freaking ass like your father and your grandfather used to do, and work your 60 to 80 hours like your grandpa and your father used to do so that you could eat. And you think I'm full of it and I don't know what I'm talking about. What's going to happen when you reach age 65 and you can no longer get a job? What's going to happen when McDonald's will no longer require your presence? What's going to happen? Let's say automation, it's not coming. Let's say in 30 years, you will be close to retirement. We know already that Social Security won't be there to save you. You're not putting into any 401k. You're not investing in the stock market like we have told you many times. And by we, it's all the people that join here that has said the same thing. You're not saving your $700 to $800 a month. You're not putting any money into your kids' tuition. You're not putting any money on the side. You're not establishing any business so that you can work less in the future. You're not taking any risk because you want to stay coddled and you don't want the world to grind you a little bit and polish you. Because when you think of the world and circumstances that put you in financial stress as sandpaper and you're a rusty metal, life keeps grinding you like sandpaper and grinding you and grinding you. But if you, as a rust metal, if you walk away from that sandpaper, you're never going to be polished. And guess what? The sandpaper will be rougher. But if you stay next to the sandpaper and you keep grinding and grinding and grinding, at some point, the sandpaper becomes soft and you become polished. You become a professional, a pro in what you do. But that's not what we're seeing with the Slowtep community doing today. They're too scared. It hurts too much. I'm too tired. Don't talk to me. You don't know what you're talking about. You're confused. I'm doing good. I'm living life. I'm too young. No, you're not. No, you are not. You're not young. You are not young. So basically, what's happening is that at age 65, let's say, like I said, let's say that automation never comes in our lifetime. Who is going to employ you if you did not have enough money to never purchase a home, if you never became financially savvy, if you're never putting any investment and you didn't invest it in your kids? Guess what's going to happen? And this is the Slowteps retirement plan. The Slowteps retirement plan is that they raise their children so that their children can be burdened with taking care of them. You know what? I'm not going to give you tuition money. I'm not going to give you a steady house. I'm not going to give you a roof over your head. You're never going to have your room. You're never going to have nothing because I'm not going to overwork myself for you. I'm more important than you. That's what you're telling your kids. But then somehow you expect them to grow into their adult selves and tap into their inner wisdom and take care of you. You're selfish. If this is the Slowteps retirement plan, it's a selfish plan. And unfortunately, this is their retirement plan. Slowteps can't seem to understand that they can criticize a lot of things, but numbers are numbers and we cannot change them. If you're not planning for your retirement now, when you have the vitality, the opportunity, and the option to decide which job is good or bad for you, you're a selfish, lazy, and coward Slowtep. And you're planning to retire on the shoulders of your children. This is the Slowteps retirement plan. Because let me tell you something, a parent that takes care of you, like my parents did, that work day in and day out. There's nothing better than you wanting to go out there, get everything done so that you can take care of them. But those type of parents usually don't even bother you. You as a child are bothered to give them something back for all the sacrifices that you saw them do. But those parents don't need you. Slowteps will need their children. And the same way I said, parents are not an emergency fund, I'm going to add something new. Your children are not a retirement fund, Slowteps. That is selfish, Slowteps. If you are not actively today putting money aside for your retirement, you are selfish. Because like Jose said out here, for many people, they must be 67 years old to get full Social Security benefits if Social Security is still out there, which I highly doubt, especially with all the inflation that we're seeing. Your parents are not an emergency fund. Your children are not a retirement fund. Slow tips are the meat in the sandwich that's leeching off of their parents in the same way. If you think that I'm making this up, the same way that slow tips are leeching off of their parents today, they're planning to leech off of their children. That is the proof. If you think that slow taps, you guys are not leeches, why you're leeching off of your parents instead of giving to your parents? Because that's exactly your retirement plan. You're planning to replace your dead parents with your living and healthy young children that should be focused on their own families, building generational wealth. It's called generational wealth because our parents came here as illegal immigrants, gave you the citizenship and the struggle life where they had to overwork themselves so that you can become middle class, and you're supposed to take that middle class status and give your kids the option to be upper middle class so that they can give their kids the option to become upper class. That is why it's called generational wealth. But if there is a gap because you're the leash, the weak link of the chain, nothing is going to get passed down but debts. And let me tell you something, it doesn't end there. Slowteps will eventually have a funeral plan. You know what the funeral plan is going to be? All of their kids are going to have to put money, take money from the food that they put on their table for their children to bury the selfish Slowtep parents. And I wonder, how do we have the time and energy to be talking about topics that do not position us into pushing the millennial slow tap into what they're supposed to do? Why people keep being obsessed with personas instead of being obsessed with a check?
Obsessed with me. I was like, why are you so obsessed with me? Why are you so obsessed with me?
Why? Is it because it hit a nerve? Is it because you want to shut me off? It's not going to happen. If you're triggered, look, I'm going to say this and I'm going to say it twice. If you are triggered, if you're part of the slow taps that get triggered by what I am saying, that means that I'm talking about you. If you get upset and go to your little minions to make videos and talk about how you're obsessed with my persona, if you go and get triggered, it means that I'm talking about you. Because all the people, millennials that I've had here before, they're actually doing the work, do not get triggered by what I am saying. Only the ones that live the slow tip retirement plan are the ones that get triggered. But maybe I don't know what I am talking about. Maybe I am full of shit. Maybe I'm just a woman that's annoying, or like they used to call me, Fat B, that is just talking. It's just talking. She's so annoying. She's just talking. She's just talking. Shut up. She's just talking. She's just talking. I want her to stop talking. I want her to not mention me again. In the meantime, you see that the retirement fund looks like this. They keep talking. They keep talking about me. They keep saying all kinds of stuff. In the meantime, their current lives that they share with mama and papa while their kids are growing, watching them being complete losers, are like this. It keeps going and going and going. But like I said, maybe I don't know what I'm talking about. Maybe I'm just full of it. Maybe I'm just a crazy woman on the internet that doesn't know what she's talking about. If you think I don't know what I'm talking about, if you agree with me, if you want to share your thoughts with me, if you want to discuss this, I put the link on the chat. Um, I put the link on the chat because this is a topic that I'm going to park on from now on. Like I said, on season 2, we're going to keep making videos about this until Slowteps start building what they're supposed to build for their families. Not for me, not for nobody else, for their families. And like I said, I'm not talking about Latino men in general. I'm talking about the Slowtep community, the leash community, the loser community. It's time that we start calling these people by their names. They're losers. Incompetent, coward, lazy, losers. So I'm going to go on a little intermission. I'm going to go away for 5 minutes. You guys know how I do it. And when I'm back, I'm going to have the discussion with people that comes up in the panel. It's 7 p.m. where I'm at. I'm going to be back at 7:05. Grab your snacks, grab your drinks, grab your heart rate because we're going to discuss this to a full extent. Okay? I'll see you guys back at 7:05.
educated on this subject. I really honestly, I have no idea what you just said because I'm not really educated on this subject. And I really honestly, I have no idea what you just said because I'm not really educated on this subject. I really honestly, I have no idea what you just said because I'm not really educated on this subject. And I really honestly, I have no idea what you just said because I'm not really educated on this subject.
And we are back, people. We are back. And I welcome Pamela. Welcome. Thank you for tuning in, guys. Before I let Jose in, I want to remind everybody that the views and the statements of the guests do not necessarily represent those of the channel and or those of the panel members, as some comments may be offensive to select groups of people. Also, I want to remind you guys that by calling into the live show, you waive your rights to the use of your image and likeness for the purposes of the show. Now, without any further ado, let's welcome my fellow, my friend, my cyber father, my wise advisor, the one, the only, the infamous Jose Negron. Welcome.
Good evening, my cyber daughter. I mean, you really outdid yourself tonight.
Oh my God. Today is, I know today is gonna trigger some mics. I know today Slowteps are like, it burns, it burns.
I mean, it's going to be like,
I'm mounting, I'm mounting, I'm mounting.
Yeah, yeah, definitely, definitely. And I know there's not like a lot of people here, but I want everybody that's coming in to hit that like button. And if you haven't subscribed, subscribe to this channel. Trust me, we're going to have fun, but we're also going to learn to take accountability and also to be productive. So, Jose, what's your take on today's topic? The
Uh,
Slow Tips retirement plan.
okay. Of course, I have my term, which is known as the mix, the mentally and intellectually challenge. It sounds nicer, but it's the same sickness. The fact of the matter is, as usual, these people, they have no vision, they have no drive, they have no desire. I mean, all they can do is talk about the fact that you have an African American as a fiance and you have the battle of the bulge.
Oh my god.
I was like, why are you so obsessed with
Because the truth hurts.
Yeah, the truth
And, and
hurts.
and let me tell you something. I said this before, and I'm going to say it again. Unlike a lot of them, I actually either watch or participated in all your streams. So therefore, if anyone that has any knowledge about what you're trying to say, would be yours truly. And the fact of the matter is, since the onset, you've been trying to educate us as far as how we could be productive, how we can succeed. And unfortunately, not too many of the mix are saying anything remotely close to what you're saying. All they can talk about is, oh, she's dating a black guy. Oh, she's fat. Oh, she hates Latino men.
Yeah, yeah. That's usually um what's going on. That's usually what's going on. Because in reality, and I'm gonna say this, in my opinion, uh when you have as an individual this selfish nature and coward nature and lazy nature, anybody that points out those qualities in you, you know, are going to be a threat to you. You're going to get it in a, you're gonna resent them to a degree. You're gonna come for them or trying to attack their persona. We've seen this even with people that are way more relevant than me. They get attacked left and right. But in reality, it doesn't change the fact that you're coward and lazy and you're a loser.
Mhm. That is so true. And the fact of the matter is, I don't like to brag, but the fact of the matter is, when I compare myself to the mix, I mean, the fact of the matter is, I grew up on public assistance, but I went to college. I was able to get a college education. I was able to um, gain employment as a municipal employee.
One question I want to ask you, Jose: how many hours did your father work a week?
To be perfectly honest, I cannot. I don't recall. Um, that unfortunately, okay. This is kind of like a delicate topic because first of all, my father's not alive, and
Of course.
he's not here to defend himself. But let's just say, yes, my father worked, but basically, as far as raising the children, it was mostly my mom that did that.
And that's the way it is for most families. Now, my thing is, did you saw your dad in the couch making live streams?
Well, you okay? No, actually, no, because but then again, we're talking about okay. Let me put it into its proper context. Okay, I was born during the Cuban Missile Crisis back in 1962. I grew up in the late 70s and early 80s, which of course the glory days where the Yankees were the world
Oh
champs
my God.
and will become again.
But
Uh,
did you saw him? Do you saw him doing radio content for
no,
300 people?
no, no.
What do you saw your dad do the most as an immigrant into this country?
Well, I mean, basically, I mean, uh, he was, he would hang out with his siblings. Um, Unfortunately, the men in my family have a reputation to be muy mujeriego. Okay. The fact of the matter is, when I saw the example of my father, my grandfather, and my uncles, I decided not to follow his example and just have one female.
Yeah, of course, of course.
So
But you saw them mostly working every day, right?
yeah,
Okay. That's my point. That's my point. We didn't grow up with parents, especially fathers or even single mothers, because I have single mothers here. I have Morena, I have Lomun, I have several others that you see them working every day, and they make sure that their children are sheltered and fed every day instead of just focusing on the stupidity that the slow tips are focusing on.
and I just want to give a shout out to those ladies because they're not the ones that's spending 9, 10, 11 hours doing streams like on Mr. BBC and how
No,
we're going to make
absolutely
the
not.
Dominican Republic white again and how we're going to resurrect the Spanish Empire. They're
No, you
actually
see them working.
exactly, and they're actually, they're doing their duties and then some. So I give a huge shout out to the ladies, and I don't know if they're in the audience. I just want to let them know that that I appreciate their sacrifices.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Now I want to welcome Rakim that joined the stream. What's up, Rakim?
What's up, Denise? What's up, Jose?
What's up?
Good
What's
evening.
up? Now, Rakim, what do you have on the Slow Tips Retirement Fund?
The Slowteps Retirement Fund is a bounce check. It's,
I think it's several bounce checks.
It's an overdraft fee.
it's a bounce check that they gave to their children. And let's just familiarize ourselves with what a slow tep is. A slow tep pretty much is an unproductive male. Actually, I had an uncle that was a slow tep. I didn't realize that guy was a screw up until I got much older. He always seemed like he was cool when I was young, but once I started getting older and I started realizing he was dependent on multiple women to take care of him because that's all he ever got passed on. And then at the end of the day, he never worked. Um, he pretty much, depended on women to take care of him that, was affectionate, that was attracted and affectionate towards him. And in the end, he depended on my grandmother, which was his sister, to actually take care of him, which she tried to do for quite some time. That's a slow tip, and that's
Yeah, we,
the,
we all have them in every community. Slow tips are not just in our community. The tips community is growing exponentially.
oh yeah, UTA, United Steps of America, baby. And they'll soon be making their way to the Caribbean.
Guys, remember, all make lives matter.
Yep, all McLives. McLives. They're definitely McLives, and their future holds them working at McDonald's serving McDoubles.
And
Uh,
not, let me get something out.
Yes.
There's nothing wrong with flipping burgers for a living, but that's not necessarily where you should focus your energy in your prime years on. You should be focusing on, okay, I'm frying this fries, I'm flipping these burgers, and then I'm gonna head to my other job. Pamela is mental and intellectually challenged. Um, you know, I'm gonna get to this other job so that I can use that other money to invest in either a business venture or invest into my retirement fund or the kids' tuition or what so and so on. So continue, Rikim.
Yeah, because based off of things that you covered in previous live streams, and these, such as the automation of the future, the way the corruption is working, the rich are still becoming even more and more greedier and taking away from the poor, and things are not getting better for minorities in general. It's only getting worse. As my grandmother would say, when the rich has a cold, the poor has fever. You know, and I mean,
Yep.
when the rich has a cold, the poor has the flu, and it's no time to be joking around. But I think part of the reason why a lot of people don't take the time out to actually try to prepare themselves for their future, because on top of it, they're afraid, they don't know what steps to take. They rather live in a fantasy land and thinking that they have forever, but the forever is only so long, and it comes just like that. You can remember, Denise, we're in our early 30s. You remember when we were 18.
Yeah.
You remember when we were 15. You remember the 90s.
Yep.
That time flew past just like that. Back in the day when we would be talking about someone talking to us about the 70s is what the 90s are today. That
Yep.
was over 25, 26 years ago. And that's how time quickly passed a person. And before you know it, you'll be standing in the same spot where everybody has advanced. And, it's no joke out here. And I advise everybody, even if you feel like you don't know what to do with your time, just crack open a book about finances. Just start taking baby steps where you can actually get the courage to actually start investing in your future and learning what you're going to do with yourself. I understand that, everybody comes from, impoverished background. Some of us come from, nothing. But the whole point is that you don't want to repeat the cycle.
Of course, you have to try, make mistakes, try again, make better mistakes, try again until you get it done. And one thing that I see is that out of fear and insecurity, because make no mistake, these guys are obsessed with our personas. That's what they attack us on a personal level simply because they are insecure. They don't think they can get this stuff done. But the only reason why they think that way is because they don't necessarily put themselves out there and they don't know where to begin. And I've said many times, contact your local SBA office, go sit down with Fidelity people so that they can help you invest in your future retirement, sit down at your local bank, go and outreach different avenues on when you can know, hey, maybe I'm not the business type of person, but I can invest in a 401k, or I can grab a second job because I'm only good at working, and I can invest that money into my retirement with my family and my spouse. There's several avenues to actually ensure that, the planning is everything. And when you don't have a plan, of course, you don't know what to do. So the first thing you have to sit down and do is say, hey, where I am at today, I am broke as hell. I'm leeching off of my parents. I'm a freaking loser. Let me sit down and make a list of the things that I have to take care of. Okay, I have to provide a nest for my family. I have to provide an income so that they can grow up, well fed and with a roof over their heads. And also, I have to provide wait for me to be taken care of after age 65, because McDonald's ain't going to be hiring 65-year-old dudes or women.
Excuse me. Now, I just want to explain the reason why I came up with the term mentally and intellectually challenged. It's referring to the slow taps, the Hispano taps, the divest taps, the steak taps, and all the other slow taps combined. because they all share certain things that are in common. And what do they share? Is they do cannot accept constructive criticism. They have no desire to do better. They lash out on the people who are trying to provide them with information like Denise, which is why I refer to all of them as the mentally and intellectually challenged, thus the mix.
Or like Rakim said, the United Taps of America. I love both. I see that
Well,
Pamela says it's fear. They just disguise it as keeping our culture so the USA won't quote unquote erase who we are. Really, they don't want to compete. Yeah, absolutely.
yeah.
We see it with the way they go when Latinas Day Out. We see it the way they go when you point them into a more, financial or corporate literacy path or whatever. You see them, it's the same reaction over and over. As a matter of fact, you have all the tips have that same tendency. When you try to point them in the direction of the uncomfortable, they don't want to become comfortable at the uncomfortable. And unfortunately, life is not going to cuddle you. The world is cold, the world is rough, and you have to get used to that roughness and that coarse aspect of life. Otherwise, you're never going to know how strong you can really be. And I'm not just talking out of my ass. I've lived through it myself. I've said it here many times.
Mhm.
Most of our people came to this country with one hand covering the front, one hand covering the back, and we made something out of it. But unfortunately, now the United States of America is going to waste that and basically damage further the ethnic image of Latinos in this country, which is hardworking individuals. Because grandpa and papa actually, work to the point that they have that reputation, they work for that reputation, but now Slowteps are trashing it. As a matter of fact, there is a show that I absolutely adore, which is Billions. And I remember in one of the episodes when they say it's always the third generation that screw things up. The first generation establishes it, the second takes it to the next level, and the third generation fucks it up. That's basically how they describe how business are. And if you look into even Hostess and even Nabisco as a company, you have the founding generation, the second generation that made it better, and the third generation that messed it up.
That is, that is so true. And the fact of the matter is this: um, more and more people of my generation are retiring. And the fact of the matter is, when the youngest baby boomer reaches 67, at least possibly 90% of the baby boomers will be retired. Okay, that means that the millennials is going to have to pick up the baton.
That we're talking about 2030, literally 2030.
Okay,
This will
so
become a
so
reality.
so it's like 9 years, less than 9 years from now, which is basically more or less okay. Technically, I can retire now. The reason why I'm happy not because A, I'm one of those crazy people actually likes his job. B, I'm in good
You're
health.
an exhibit of what I'm talking about.
Okay.
Our fathers and our grandfathers loved to work.
And there's still a possibility that I get one more promotion before I retire. But even if that doesn't happen, the fact of the matter is, between my pension and my social security, I can, as long as I live within my means, I'll be comfortable. The problem is when it comes time for the millennials, social security may not be available for them. So I cannot see someone that's 80, 90 years old flipping burgers at Burger King or what have you. But then again, who knows? Maybe by then they'll have robots doing those jobs.
That's what I'm talking about. It's going to be zero, and the retirement plan will be their children that will be a little bit more competent to the market skills. They're going to be able to match the market skills a little bit better. I see that Pamela says competing in the USA won't erase our culture. Not evolving ourselves in a world that constantly changing and evolving is going to erase our culture. That is absolutely true. We saw it with the indigenous people, and because they refuse to, probably it's the indigenous in us, they refused to evolve to gunpowder, and they were still managing spears and whatnot. And don't get me wrong, our indigenous people, had a lot of culture, a lot of knowledge, a lot of intelligence and potential and capabilities, and they had big ass cities and a lot of stuff, but they could not defend that simply because they did not have the power to do so. And today's power is not gunpowder anymore, it's money, dinero.
Yes, yes, definitely. And one thing I might add, as time goes on, we're dealing with an emergence of outspoken children. Long gone are the days that you just honor thy mother and honor thy father for being your parents. A lot of these kids are coming up in a world where they have to compete and they don't necessarily have the tools to do so. And that leaves a resentment towards their parents, because like you said, Denise, it's a cold world out here. And
Oh yeah.
the worst thing that you can be is the worst thing that can happen to somebody is in the middle of a war where guns is blazing and you get dropped in the battlefield with a butter knife, you know.
Oh yeah.
And these kids are noticing that throughout, social media. A lot of these kids are more technologically savvy and they're able to express themselves with other kids that's going through the same thing online. And you know, like, so for kids that are dealing with parents that are not productive or didn't set them up, there's going to be a lack of respect there. And who knows, even if they do make it, they may not take care of you just based off of the fact that you put them in a real crappy situation, being born in a situation with no resources.
I'm telling you, I the culture that I'm seeing with this millennial Latin slow tap is that I'm seeing them living in a household with two or three other families, because one parent had the strength to build a home, buy a home, and provide for his children. But then his children, unfortunately, because good times create weaker men, or softer men. Let's just say that softer men. What they do is that they bring the wife and the kids to their parents' house. And if you have two, three kids, you're paying for their mistakes. And imagine you're being 60 or 65 and having your grandkids in your house, and you have like seven other grandkids over there making noises and annoying you into retirement, into an early death. But slow tips are selfish. They don't care about these things. They don't think about these things because they're looking at their children. I'm giving you this life, and you better take care of me. You better take care of me. And if you think you're going to inherit your parents' house, let me tell you something. You got to pay taxes on that land. And good luck paying taxes on that land at 65 years old.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. And one thing that always used to get me is I remember actually coming from a bad situation myself, and I remember when people used to say, you know, well, your parents, well, mostly with my mother, well, you know, they brought you here, you got to thank them for that, right? Because when I was in heaven in the pearly gates, if I could have choose between the parents that I was born with and a physician that had a PhD that made six figures that was able to take care of me. Yeah, I'm pretty sure everybody know which one I would have picked.
Of course, of course. It's that's the thing. I'm like, if you we have to start denormalizing this decay that we're seeing, which is why I'm encouraging other Latinos to start calling out the cowards, calling out the lazy, calling out the losers, and start calling them losers again. Because in my father's generation, that's what used to happen. Men that did not work or were underemployed or didn't put a home or a roof over their kids' head were called losers. And that's basically what we're seeing with the slow taps. But guys, you guys know I like to keep this under 2 hours. I'm going to start with closing statements. Before I go into closing statements, I want to encourage you guys to follow me on Instagram, denise.gonzalez.djegas1, so that you can keep up with everything that happens, not only in Latin America, but our Latin diaspora. And also, before we go, I want to tell you guys that this Thursday at 6 p.m. Pacific time, 9 p.m. Eastern Time, we're going to have a new topic, and it's called the true cost of your stimulus checks. If you guys want to know what I'm talking about, or if you don't know what I'm talking about, make sure that you tune in because it's going to be lit. It's going to be fire. You're going to love it. I guarantee you. We're going to figure this out. If you're noticing that you have less and less money or things are getting more expensive around you, I will break down for all of you why things are more expensive and what is the possible solution. So make sure that you tune in this Thursday at 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time or 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Now, I'm going to start with Jose and then Rakim for closing statements. Jose, final words.
Okay, well, before I just want to remind everybody that I will have another live stream this Friday evening, 8:30 Eastern Standard Time, 5:30 Pacific Standard Time, and 7:30 Central Standard Time. And the topic will be, has political correctness gone too far? Now, due to the nature of the topic, it's going to be a closed panel because I'm sure the Slowteps will try to make their presence felt. And for that reason, I had sent the link to certain individuals, which I'm sure they'll have something constructive to say. Now, as far as the so-called retirement plan of the mix, it's just basically a simple fact that unfortunately we have people who are lazy and underachieving people. And that's a shame because they are depending on their parents who are in their golden years. And then after they die, they're going to depend on their children. And their children may not do much better than them. In fact, they might end up doing worse because if they follow the example, then it's going to continue being raising a society that's not very productive. We need to do something to make the mix an endangered species. And the fact of the matter is, you can break out of that mold. The question is, do you have the chutzpah, to break out of the mold and to be productive not only for yourself but for your community? As always, Denise, it is a pleasure to be a part of your stream. I thank you very much. And Rakim, it's always pleasant to hear from you. And of course, I'm going to close the same way. People, please be careful out there because we are dealing with COVID-19. We're also dealing with another sickness, which is worse, which is ignorance and apathy. And we also have to deal with the mix, the mentally and intellectually challenged. And we must do everything possible to limit our contact with them. Because if we fail to do so, we'll be infected by their stupidity. And they will be talking like someone who is brain damaged.
Thank you very much, Jose. I'm going to put you in the back. Don't go anywhere. Now, Rakim, final statements.
Yeah, it's the walking taps out here, man. You got to barricade yourself in your house and make sure you got enough survival food, and make sure you got enough ammo so you don't turn into one of them. But yeah, my final statements is that, of course, things are getting more economically scarce these days, and it's important for people, even if you feel like you're at your lowest point, it's important to want to learn as much as you possibly can about business. Learn as much as you possibly can about the stock market. Learn as much as you possibly can about credit and finances, because that is extremely important. See, it's not being in a situation where you're down. It's just when you're in a situation where you're down and you don't want to learn anything else to get you up, then that's when you just become another person that, society doesn't pay attention to. And more than likely, you'll be just another consumer to be taken advantage of. Because meanwhile, while other people are planning on how they're going to, have a stabilized household, more than likely they'll be coming up with an item for you to consume to deal with your lack of stabilization. So my final words are, just try to educate yourselves as much as possible. Try to build yourselves up, because it's only going to get hard out here, especially after COVID. A lot of people are, down bad, and if you don't want to be one of them, you better educate yourself as much as possible and do what you can to progress, because it's only going to get more and more wicked. And everybody's at that age where mommy and daddy can't save us anymore. We out here in the world by ourselves, and there's a lot of sharks on land. So you better be aware. And to be aware is to be alive. And that's all I have to say, Denise.
Thank you very much, Rakim. I'm gonna put you backstage. Don't go anywhere. Well, guys, Melanated Night said very true to what Rakim was saying and what Jose was saying. One thing I would say, guys, to close this, make sure you like this video and make sure that if you have a tech friend, bring it over here. Bring it over here and make sure that they watch this. Now, before I go, guys, I want to say a big thank you. We're close to 200 subscribers already. In less than a year, in less than what? It's about to be November in 7 months. So I want to thank every single one of you that have subscribed and trust in me, your time, which is something you can't get back. So thank you very much for doing so, guys. I am very grateful. And as a closing statement, like I said, we're about to experience one of the most biggest debacles in our financial history in modern era. And Slowteps are not capable of surviving it. Make no mistake, they might say things, they might say that they're doing this and that they have knowledge here and there, but from the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks about. And if you're not talking the same things that will save your people, you're not doing anything because you don't know. And it's time for these losers to know that they do not know what they are doing. They do not know what they are doing. They are leeches of what's left of our community. And it's time to put a stop to it. It's time to bring shame back. Bring shame back. It's time to put pressure on them and do not let go. Do not let them come at you with insults trying to shut you up. We know the insults are going to come. We know the streams are going to come. We know the stupidity is going to come. But it's time for us to acknowledge that the only way that we can show them some love is by telling them to their faces, you are a loser. Because unfortunately, our ethnic image depends on their willingness as well to cooperate for the collective. And when I mean the collective, it's not that they have to take care of us, it's they have to take care of their families. And if they're not able to do so, they're going to create a wave of kids that are going to be broke as hell, taking care of their home, and that's going to destabilize. We talk a lot about the Black community in these low IQ streams. They talk a lot about how they're this, and that, but make no mistakes. We see the same things in the Slowteps. Most of them are addicted to any substance, whereas it be an illegal substance or alcohol or drugs. We see them creating the same problems that they criticize in other communities. And we see them right now being incapable to provide for their families. They talk a lot about the Black community, but the Black community learned from the hard mistakes that cost them a lot, and it's now trying to fix their community. So now you're not going to only be far behind, now you're going to be even further behind, because every other ethnic group is moving forward because they realize the mistakes they made in the past. But now, while we're pointing out the mistakes that they made in the past, which they are correcting now, we're making those mistakes expecting a different result. And there is no bigger description of insanity. Einstein himself said it. You can't keep doing the same things expecting a different result. That is complete insanity. Make no mistake, when you tune into these Slowtep streams, just remind yourself it might be for entertainment, but you have better stuff to do. Don't let nobody derail you. Stay productive, stay competent. Don't let the Slowteps derail you. Remember that these people talk a lot of game, but they don't do anything whatsoever. Once again, guys, don't forget to follow me on Instagram. Don't forget to make sure that your slow tip friends or people that suffer the consequences that some slow tips create tune in and actually watch this stream. I want to say, guys, thank you very much for allowing me into your homes and also into your devices. And always remember that when the market starts shifting, it will reveal who was talking and who was working. In the meantime, I just want to leave a question, and with this, I'm going to say goodbye. I want to leave a question in the air. And that question is,
I was like, why are you so obsessed with me?